here, ladies and gentlemen, at this launch of the Sponsor Effect report in the UK by the Centre for Talent Innovation. I was thinking when Sylvia was speaking about the first time that we met, which was in New York, at a lunch which I had asked our Consular General there to host, to bring together women to talk about women in business, so that I could hear from the experience of women in America. So this was at a stage when we were developing some of our thinking here in the UK as a new government. One thing was clear to me from that, well, two things were clear to me from that lunch. One was that we shared across the Atlantic actually an awful lot of experiences, and the stories I heard from the women there were very similar to the stories I heard from the women here in the UK. The other thing was that the chef at the Consulate General obviously didn't know how to cook lunch and didn't normally have a table entirely full of women. The chocolate pudding was the largest chocolate pudding I've ever seen. I don't think anybody ate all of it around the table, so he obviously learnt a lesson there. But seriously, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the sort of more general issues in the context in terms of women in business and women being promoted into senior positions and getting onto boards. Because getting more women into senior positions in business, actually not just in business, but in charities as well, in the public sector, is incredibly important. It's important for a number of reasons. It matters morally, it's significant to our society, but it is also essential economically. And I think this is the message that increasingly businesses are beginning to hear and to understand. There's more and more evidence now emerging that shows the benefits that senior women can bring. And if you just look at some of the facts, I mean, women make more than 70% of household purchasing decisions. So a company whose senior leaders actually better reflect its customers and clients will better understand their needs and respond to their requirements, and that should give a competitive edge. But we also know that companies that have more diverse boards produce better results. They have higher sales, greater returns on invested capital, and better returns on equity. And so it seems to me that it's a pretty obvious equation that a business should be interested in actually having a more diverse board, and that means, amongst that, having more women. And I think it's no wonder, therefore, that more and more shareholders are actually demanding that companies' top teams better reflect and represent society. So, as I say, helping women getting into senior positions it's not just a women's thing, it's not just a moral or social issue of fairness or equality, it's actually an issue of economic strength. Now, as a government, we're doing a number of things to support women in business, such as our groundbreaking proposals for flexible parental leave and extended flexible working will help when we are able to legislate for those. But we're also working with business to help accelerate change, and Lord Mervyn Davies did a report for the government, which many people here I'm sure are aware of, on women in business. And working with Lord Davies and with business, we're helping to get more women onto the boards of our leading firms. And over the last year, that effort has seen the largest and fastest ever increase in the number of women on the boards of FTSE 100 firms. The number of FTSE 100 board members who are women has increased from 12.5 to 16%, and the number of all male boards has plummeted from 21 to just 9. So that means that 91% of FTSE 100 boards now have at least one female member. And if we maintain that momentum, then by 2015 we will have surpassed even the stretching target that Lord Davies set of 25% of those on the boards of our top companies being women. And that would be a fantastic achievement, but it will only happen if we keep up the commitment, so we must do that. But we're also working with business to help women below board level. I've set up a new Women's Business Council, and it had its first meeting in May, and the chair of that council is Ruby McGregor-Smith, the chief executive of Mighty, and she set out at that meeting that one of the key issues is how to improve the talent pipeline for women. The pipeline from schools and colleges to universities into our companies and up to chief executive. Because, of course, a number of the appointments of women to boards are to non-executive positions. What we need to see is women coming through that pipeline into executive positions on boards as well. And one of the ways we can do that, I think, is to ask companies to be more open about the action they're taking to remove barriers for women in the workplace. because transparency helps demonstrate action, shows customers and employees that you care, and it allows suggestions for change to be made. And that's why we've made transparency a central part of our new initiative to tackle the barriers for women in the workplace, and that's an initiative called Think, Act, Report. And I'm delighted that John Heaps from Eversheds is here, because we were able to launch this initiative last September at Eversheds, and he's been a leading advocate of the approach that we've been taking in this. But if there are companies here who are not already thinking, acting and reporting, I would urge you all to join. Companies like, firms like Eversheds, Tesco's, GlaxoSmithKline, National Grid, these have all signed up to Think, Act, Report. And I think if anybody cares about improving business and improving gender equality in your workplace, then that's something that you will want to do. But of course, action by government and by business alone isn't enough. Women themselves also have a responsibility to try to improve their own lives. And I think, as Sylvia's mentioned, one of the fascinating things from today's report is that women are actually shown in it to be more ambitious than men. She's referred to the high percentage of women who actually, here in the UK, actually wanted that top job. And I think more than 90% of the women surveyed said they want a promotion. So there's no lack of ambition out there. And what we can help ambitious women do is learn from those who've gone before. And that's why last November I launched a mentoring scheme for people who are wishing to start to set up or grow their own business. And the latest figures show that nearly 5,000 women have volunteered to become mentors, so that they can help pass on their knowledge to the next generation of female entrepreneurs. And that approach works within established businesses too. I'm sure many people in companies here this evening already provide mentoring and coaching for men and women to help develop their future leaders. I'm sure that is done in a lot of companies. But while mentors guide, support and ask questions, I think today's research shows that that senior manager's advocacy of an individual as their sponsor has a very strong effect as well. And women with sponsors are 52% more likely to be satisfied with their rate of career progression, and significantly more likely, as Sylvia said, to want to stay with their current employer. So sponsorship can be good for businesses and good for individuals, both for men and women, but senior men are 50% more likely to have a sponsor than senior women. So this is something that I think we need to be looking at. And something else we need to be looking at, I was interested that Sylvia mentioned this issue of authenticity versus conforming. I'm a great believer that one of the big things we need to ensure is that women can take senior roles and do them in their own way and be themselves in them, and not feel that they've simply got to fit into some sort of stereotype that has been set for them. So I think that is something that we definitely need to be looking to promote. So as I say, greater sponsorship can help more women to progress to senior positions, and that will be good for women, good for business, good for our economy, and good for our society. But there is no magic bullet. And to help women reach senior positions that they deserve will require a comprehensive range of effective policies from government, it will require businesses to take the right action, and it requires individuals to take responsibility for progressing their own careers. And that's how we will bring about the change that we all want to see. So I'm determined that government is going to play its part, and I hope all businesses represented here will demonstrate their commitment. And I know that all of the ambitious women in our country will be eager to do what they can to reach the top. I believe it's our task to support them.